Alright, today we're going to talk about cellular respiration and kind of just the basics of how it creates ATP and describing the flow of energy from a glucose molecule to ATP. Respiration allows for the bonds in the glucose molecule, which is a carbon-hydrogen bond, to break apart, releasing the hydrogen, which is also the same as releasing the spare electron, which attaches to an oxygen molecule, creating H2O, water, which can transport the electrons, and the energy released from this process is used to make ATP through the electron transport chain. And the end products are CO2 waste and ATP. It'll be about 38 ATP. And the whole process starts with glycolysis, and then it's pyruvate oxidation. Then you have the TCA-Krebs cycle, then oxidative phosphorylation, and that's pretty much where the electron transport chain comes in that process. And overall, the catabolic reactions, like the glycolysis and the ones I mentioned just before, are used to make the energy needed for the anabolic reactions of the cell, like synthesizing amino acids and nucleotides, making sure the cell membrane is healthy. And then there's fermentation, and fermentation's goal is to move one organic compound, like glucose, to another organic molecule. And there's a lot less energy being made here. It's actually only going to make about 2 ATP versus the 38 for respiration. Otherwise, all the electron carriers, the carriers can be limited. So like a cell can have only so many electron carriers, and transporting their electrons through the electron transport chain, sometimes they get used at the same time, which means they can't release the electron to make ATP for the cell, and then there's no other carriers like oxygen, so glucose doesn't get broken down, so there's no energy. And that's kind of where fermentation comes in. Fermentation is similar to respiration, but it actually uses the pyruvate that comes in at the end of glycolysis, and it'll take that or another organic molecule to move its extra electrons, kind of act as another carrier. And fermentation still uses glycolysis, and it adds an extra electron reduces that pyruvate, or again, whatever molecule is being used, which in turn creates the acids and the alcohols or the gases that we use in food making. So that's kind of the basics of cellular respiration and fermentation. It's a pretty complicated process, but in turn, you get 38 ATP or the 2 ATP from fermentation.